Good morning. My name is Brian Dustin. Our service leader today is Nikki Norman. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Saco and Biddeford. We also want to welcome those joining on YouTube and encourage you to have a candle or chalice to light when we light ours here in a few moments. Whoever you are, wherever you come from, whomever you love, we are glad you are here with us today. The theme for the month of October is Heritage. We invite you to carry that theme with you as you are with us today and into your daily life when you leave here today. We strive to be a green sanctuary. It gives roots and wings to our vision of a world where all people build toward a sustainable future and make reverence, gratitude, and care for the living earth central to our lives. We want to acknowledge that our building sits on the unceded land of the Wabanaki Confederation, which includes the Abenaki, Maliseet, Micmac, Passamaquoddy, and Penobscot nations. We invite you to take home the order of service for information and announcements, or you may leave it for recycling as you exit the sanctuary. Please remember to silence your cell phones. There will be a social hour in the parish hall after the service. Please join us.
Good morning. As we gather this morning, let us be a people of not forgetting. Let us practice holding collective memories that might otherwise slip into that enormous void that sucks at and corrodes any future we hold dear. Let us practice honoring truth-telling, up from the past that must come fully into the new, lest we falter and fail, lest the whole remain in pieces. Let not our need for comfort or simplicity, for easy forgiveness or false pardon, smother the heartbreak that still needs healing. Let us practice resilience with reckoning. Let us marry memory and promise. Let us dance in the tension we find there. Let us rest in the integrity that we cultivate there. Let us be partners with the possibility that emerges there. It is good that we gather. Those are the words of Reverend Karen G. Johnston. Now I'd like to invite you to stand and greet your neighbors. outside the gym. You should see it just at the gym. And before you get too comfortable, I invite you to stand, and we'll be singing from the Teal hymnal, and Ellie and the choir are going to help lead this.
So we're doing number 1003, and all right, we're doing number 1003 in the Teal hymnal. The choir's going to help you.
This is the time in our service when we invite people to share what is in their hearts, whether it's a great joy or a deep sorrow. It is not a time for announcements or political statements. If you wish, please come forward to light a candle. Tell us your name if you'd like, and share your joy or sorrow with us if you choose to do so. Please hold the mic straight in front of you, parallel to the floor, not like this. And speak clearly into the mic so that you can be heard through the sound system.
Hi, I'm Donna, and this is a a candle of sorrow for my 3 cousins and my beloved 99-year-old aunt. My cousins are having to move her into a facility for those with dementia, and it's very hard for all of them, and especially for my aunt who doesn't quite understand, and she only wants to remain at home and die and be with her beloved husband who died many years ago. So it's sad.
I'm Janine, and this is David, and we lit a candle today because we found out this week that there's most likely a bed for my sister-in-law who has dementia and is in a nursing home in Yarmouth in South Portland. So we can get her closer to us, more convenient, more easy to visit her, and it's, I think, a better place for her to be. So we're very excited about getting her closer to us.
Hi, my name is Wendy, and I lit a candle for folks that I know dear to my heart that are struggling with illness or mostly with illness, or some sadness. But it also, I lit another candle because it feels like this season has been so fraught with upheaval and sadness and war and just all kinds of turmoil. It just feels all tossed and unpeaceful. So I'm really working hard to try to find some place to sit with that. And here I am this morning with you.
I'm going to light one final candle for those joys and sorrows that we are keeping in our hearts. Please take everything with you today and keep it with you through the week.
got a story today that I think will be familiar to many of you. It's one of my favorites. And I'd like to invite, if there are any little ones, any children of any age, from 0 to 92. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me in the back? Okay. Oh, all right. Come on up. Come on up, kids. All right. Okay. And if you're watching from home, oh, 3 kids today. This is lovely. If you're watching from home, pretend that you're sitting here with us on the steps. There. This is a story of Miss Rumphius, also known as the Lupin Lady. Yeah, I thought people would be familiar with it. The Lupin Lady lives in a small house overlooking the sea. In between the rocks around her house grow blue and purple and rose-colored flowers. Oh, this is great. Hi. The Lupin Lady is a little old, but she has not always been that way. She's my great aunt, and she told me so. Once upon a time, she was a little girl named Alice who lived in a city by the sea. From the front stoop, she could see the wharves and the bristling masts of tall ships. Many years ago, her grandfather had come to America on a large sailing ship. Now he worked in a shop at the bottom of the house, making figureheads for the prows of ships and carving Indians out of wood to put in front of cigar stores. For Alice's grandfather was an artist. He painted pictures, too, of sailing ships and places across the sea. When he was very busy, Alice helped him. Yeah. It's like she's a painter, too. In the evening, Alice would sit on her grandfather's knee and listen to his stories of faraway places. When he had finished, Alice would say, "When I grow up, I want to go to faraway places, and when I grow old, I too will live by the sea." "That's all very well, little Alice," said her grandfather, "but there is a third thing you must do." "What is that?" asked Alice. "You must do something to make the world more beautiful," said her grandfather. "All right," said Alice, but she didn't have any idea what that would be. In the meantime, Alice got up, washed her face, and ate porridge for breakfast. She went to school and came home and did her homework. And pretty soon, she was grown up. Then my great-aunt Alice set out to do the 3 things she had told her grandfather that she was going to do. She left home and went to live in another city far from the sea and the salt air. There she worked in a library, dusting books and keeping them from getting mixed up, and helping people find the ones they wanted. Some of the books told about faraway places. People called Alice Miss Rumphius now. Sometimes she went into the conservatory in the middle of the park. When she stepped inside on a wintry day, the warm, moist air wrapped itself around her, and the sweet smell of jasmine filled the air. "This is almost like a tropical isle," she said, but not quite. And there she is in the conservatory. So Miss Rumphius went to a real tropical island where people kept cockatoos and monkeys as pets. She walked on long beaches picking up beautiful shells. One day she met the Bapa Raja, king of a fishing village. "You must be tired," he said. "Come to my house and rest." So Miss Rumphius went in and met the Bapa Raja's wife. The Raja himself fetched a green coconut and cut a slice off the top so that Miss Rumphius could drink the coconut water. Before she left, the Bapa Raja gave her a beautiful mother-of-pearl shell on which he had painted a bird of paradise and the words, "You will always remain in our hearts." "You will always remain in mine, too," said Mrs. Rumphius. I wish everybody in the back could see these. The pictures are really lovely. My great-aunt, Miss Alice Rumphius, climbed tall mountains where the snow never melted. She went through jungles and across deserts. She saw lions playing and kangaroos jumping, and everywhere she made friends she would never forget. Finally, she came to the land of the lotus eaters, and there, getting off her camel, she heard her back. "Well, that was foolish," said Miss Rumphius. "I certainly have seen faraway places. Maybe it's time to find my place by the sea." From the porch of her new house, Miss Rumphius watched the sun come up. She watched it cross the heavens and sparkle on the water, and she saw it set in glory in the evening. She started a little garden among the rocks that surrounded her house, and she planted a few flower seeds in the stony ground. Miss Rumphius was almost perfectly happy. "But there's still one more thing that I have to do," she said. "I have to do something to make the world more beautiful." "But what?" "The world's pretty nice," she thought, looking out over the ocean. I love her little house. The next spring, Miss Rumphius was not very well. Her back was bothering her again, and she found she had to stay in bed most of the time. The flowers she'd planted the summer before had come up and bloomed in spite of the stony ground. She could see them from her bedroom window, blue and purple and rose-colored. "Lupins," said Miss Rumphius with satisfaction. "I've always loved lupins the best. I wish I could plant more seeds this summer so that I could have still more flowers next year." But she wasn't able to. But after a hard winter, spring came. We know how that feels here in Maine. Miss Rumphius was feeling much better, and now she could take walks again. One afternoon, she started to go up and over the hill where she had not been in a long time. "I don't believe my eyes," she said when she got to the top, for there on the other side of the hill was a large patch of blue and purple and rose-colored lupins. "It was the wind," she said as she knelt in delight. "It was the wind that brought the seeds from my garden, and the birds must have helped." Then she had a wonderful idea. She hurried home and got out her seed catalogs. She set off to the very best seed house for 5 bushels of lupin seed. All that summer, Miss Rumphius, her pocket full of seeds, wandered over fields and headlands, sowing lupins. She scattered seeds along the highways and down the country lanes. She flung handfuls of them around the schoolhouse and at the back of the church. She tossed them into hollows along stone walls, and her back didn't hurt anymore at all. Now some people called her that crazy old lady. The next spring, there were lupins everywhere. Fields and hillsides were covered with blue and purple and rose-colored flowers. They bloomed along the highways and down the lanes. Bright patches lay around the schoolhouse and in the back of the church. Down in the hollows and along the stone walls grew the beautiful flowers. Miss Rumphius had done the third thing, the most difficult thing of all. My great-aunt Alice is very old now. Her hair is very white. And every year there are more and more and more lupins. Now they call her the Lupin Lady. Sometimes my friends stand with me outside her gate, curious to see the old lady who planted the fields of lupins. When she invites us in, they come slowly. They think she is the oldest woman in the world. Then she tells stories of the faraway places. "When I grow up," I tell her, "I too will go to faraway places and come home to live by the sea." That is all very well, little Alice, says my aunt. But there is a third thing you must do. What is that, I ask? You must do something to make the world more beautiful. All right, I say, but I don't know yet what that can be. But I'll find out. And now, as you're willing and able, please stand and join us in singing hymn number 105 in the great hymnal. And thank you, kids, for coming up.
Thank you, Miss Nikki.
You're welcome.
A reading from the Reverend Kiyama Raman. It is that time and that place. Now is the time to call on the memories of the ancestors who thought they could not walk another step toward freedom, and yet they did. It is that time and place to call on the memories of the ancestors who, when the darkness of their lives threatened to take away the hope and light, reached a little deeper and prayed yet another prayer. It is that time and place to remember those who came through the long night to witness another sunrise. It is that time and place to remember the oceans of tears shed to deliver us to this time, to remember the bent knees and bowed backs, to remember the fervent voices asking, begging, and beseeching for loved ones sold off. Time to remember their laughter and joy, though they had far less and little reason for optimism. Yet they stayed on the path toward a better day. Time to hold to the steadfast hands and hearts and prayers of the ancestors that have brought us this far. Time to make them proud and show them and ourselves what we are made of. time to show them that their prayers and sacrifices and lives were not in vain and did not go unnoticed, nor have they been forgotten. Did you not know that this day would come? Did you not know what we would have to change, that we would have to change places? Did you not know that just as our ancestors were delivered, that you would also be delivered? Have you not seen the greatness and power of the creative energy in the universe called God that moves and has its being through human agency? Have you not seen God in your neighbors' faces, in the homeless, in the battered woman, the trafficked child, the undocumented worker, the dispossessed? It is that time and that place to know that it is our turn, that we must leave a legacy for our children and all the children. It is that time and that place. We are the ones we've been waiting for. For that, let us be eternally grateful. Amen and blessed be.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks. I had the privilege Friday of going into St. Joseph's Rehab and Residence in Portland to do a little devotional service, about half an hour. But it often includes conversations with the people in attendance. And the title of my sermon today is, What's Another Word for Heritage? So I asked my little congregation there, what is another word for heritage? And they came up with ancestors, they came up with legacy, and it was not only thinking recognizing, there we go, thanks Trevor, but also recognizing that heritage comes a responsibility for the legacy that we leave and the world that we leave for the next generation. And it was funny, when I first went, having a little microphone trouble here. When I first started going to St. Joseph's, which was actually 6 years ago, I did my volunteer time at Chime and then my internship there, and then they kept me on, for which I am grateful. But I thought when I first went in, if we're going to sing, we're going to need to come up with songs from the 30s and the 40s, and I don't really know much about that. Until I went to St. Joe's, and it dawned on me that some of the people at St. Joe's, and the music that they asked for was not from the 40s and 50s. Maybe one or two people. One woman did turn 100 this year. But what they want are the Beatles. They want John Denver. They want Cat Stevens. And we talked about a song that would do a good job of representing how we felt about legacy. They came up with Teach Your Children, Crosby, Stills, and Nash. So I'm going to go off script a little bit here and ask Trevor to play it for us. It's one of my favorite songs.
You are on the road, must have a code that you can live by, and so become yourself, because the past is just a goodbye. Teach your children well, their father's hell did slowly go by, and feed them on your dreams, the one they picked, the one you know by. Don't you ever ask them why, If they told you you would cry, so just look at them and sigh, and know they love you. And you of tender years can't know the fears that your elders grew by, and so please help them with your youth. They see the truth before they can die. Teach your parents well, their children's hell will slowly go by, and feed them on your dreams, the one they picked, the one you know by. Don't you ever ask them why, if they told you you would cry, so just look at them and sigh, and know they love
Lovely to have a young voice singing along back there. Yeah, one of the gifts of the work that I do at St. Joseph's is unexpected things happen, mostly good things, occasionally startling things. But one fellow who seldom speaks, he does speak, just say a few words from time to time. But as we were playing this song on Friday, all of a sudden I heard a soft baritone voice, and I thought, where is that coming from? And it was this gentleman, and it turns out he had a beautiful baritone voice. But the minute I looked at him and told him his voice was great, he shut up. So another good learning experience. Oh. So as I was preparing for this service, what I like to do is I like to go online, I like to read other sermons, I like to find out what other churches are doing. And I found an interesting thing from the Countryside Church UU in Palatine, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, Illinois. And I'm going to share some of their words as well as some of my own here. This is a quote from Ralph Ellison. He says, "Some people are your relatives, but others are your ancestors, and you choose the ones you want to have as ancestors. You create yourself out of their values." Interesting thought. So be on the lookout, friends. Halloween's coming. The ghosts are on their way. And after all, you can't talk about heritage without talking about encountering ancestors. Now, we're not talking about relatives here. As Ralph Ellison points out, there's a big difference between relatives and ancestors. Relatives give us our brown eyes and bowed legs. Ancestors bestow a legacy. Relatives are those we tell stories about. Ancestors call on us to carry stories forward. Relatives are those we tell stories about. Ancestors call us to carry their stories forward. That was important enough to read twice. Relatives live on in our DNA. Ancestors live in the whispers of our hearts. Our relatives allowed us to be here, but our ancestors tell us why we're here. The difference comes down to values. Values you use to construct not just our stories, but ourselves. Take success. Remember that old line, and you'll like this, Sarah, it's a baseball metaphor. He was born on third base, but he believes that he hit a triple. People with a clear sense of heritage and ancestry know the truth of how they got where they are. Instead of telling tall tales about their magnificent swing, They speak of the shoulders on which I stand. Hubris or humility? Ancestors at their best never let us forget the latter. You'll also hear ancestor-conscious people speak of blessings differently. When we get gifts from the kinds of ancestors that Ellison was talking about, those gifts come with a responsibility. There's no such thing as keeping the gifts of heritage to oneself. They are meant to be passed on. Ancestors don't just remind you that they came before, they remind those who will come after. And there's where legacy comes into play. Another way to put this is to say that ancestors remind us that we are part of something larger, even obligated to do something larger, because as much as we need these larger webs and stories, they need us too. And I'm going to read that line again. Because as much as we need these larger webs and stories, they need us too. Ancestors say, whether or not the sacred stories and values stay relevant depends on you. Whether or not each other's histories are told truly depends on you. Whether the family cycles of health are strengthened and family cycles of dysfunction are stopped depend on you. Whether or not that arc is bent backward toward justice, it is up to all of us. Ancestors plop these incomplete and intimidating endeavors in our laps and say, we've done our part. We've taken it as far as we can. The next step of the journey is in your hands. Which of course means that our hands are connected. Our ancestors handed precious projects to us, precious projects. We are asked to hand those precious projects on to those who follow, and they will hopefully continue the sacred chain. And in the end, maybe that's what this heritage thing really is about, seeing ourselves as part of a sacred chain. We're not small. Our lives are not insignificant. Our lives aren't even entirely our own. Every choice we make has consequences for others. Every word we write with our lives twists and propels a plot line that began before we got here and will continue after we're gone. It helps us see that it's not just relatives and ancestors that differ. Heritage and history do too. History may rightly shout, it's important to know where you came from, but heritage says, you matter, even more than you know. And what about those ghosts? Yes, some of them are here to haunt us, but the bulk of them are just excitedly hanging onto the edge of their seats, watching and wondering which direction we'll take with the story they started. And something that the Countryside Church did, they published a list of questions, and they're not necessarily questions that need to be answered out loud or even written down, although sometimes that can be really helpful. But they suggest reading through this list 2 or 3 times until one question of it sticks out in your mind and captures your attention, or as they say in some faith traditions, shimmers. Then reflect on with questions. And I'm just going to share a few of these. A couple of them are a little bit triggering for me and might have been for others. But the question to ask yourself is, what story told by or about your ancestors has shaped you the most? If you could talk to one of your ancestors, who would you choose? And what would you ask them? What's your favorite family memento, and why does it have a hold on you? And for the legacy, what story do you want to be remembered by? It's been said that we're remembered for the rules we break. What broken rule might you be remembered by? What rules did your parents break? So again, what about those ghosts? Yes, some of them are here to haunt us, but the bulk of them are just excitedly hanging onto the edges of their seats, watching and wondering which direction we'll take with the story they started. Amen, and blessed be. And I'd like to invite you now to a time of meditation, a time to just sit quietly, sit comfortably, close your eyes if you're comfortable, and kind of be aware of your breath as you let these words sink in. I'm going to repeat just a little bit of what Brian read earlier. Time to hold the steadfast hands and hearts and prayers of the ancestors that have brought us this far. Time to make them proud and show them and ourselves what we are made of. Time to show that their prayers and sacrifices and lives were not in vain and did not go unnoticed, nor have they been forgotten. Have you not seen God in your neighbor's faces? It is that time and place to know that it is our turn, that we must leave a legacy for our children and for all the children. It is that time and place where the ones we've been waiting for that, let us be eternally grateful. And now let's enter into a time of meditation. Amen, and blessed be. And welcome back.
When we gather together as a community, we bring the gifts of ourselves, our hearts and spirits, our time and energy, our talents and skills to support the work of this church here within our walls and out in the larger community. We also bring our gifts of generosity, giving of what we have so that the work of this church may continue. As always, half of our offering today will be sent out into the larger community to support the work of an agency or organization that is making a difference in our world. This month, we are sharing our offering with Wabanaki Public Health and Wellness. If you are watching from home on YouTube, donations may be made by clicking the PayPal link in the video description, or checks may be mailed to UUCSB, 60 School Street, Saco. Please be generous as the ushers collect this morning's offering.
please remain standing and join us in our words as we extinguish the chalice for the week. As we release this flame from its faithful service today, we allow the spark in each of us to burn on, to warm our compassion, to fire our delight, to find our paths today, tomorrow, and always. And our closing hymn is number 1058 in the Teal hymnal. Please be seated. We leave blessed by our connections to one another, to the Spirit of life. Walk lightly that you see the life that is below your feet. Spread your arms as if you had wings and could dance through the air. Feel the joy of the breath in your lungs and the fire in your heart. Live to love and be a blessing on this earth. Go in peace. I invite you to remain seated for the postlude.